Hello viewers, hope you're all well. Happy Tuesday. I'll give some folks, and apologies that we're a little bit late. We had some technical difficulties. Anybody who's just joining us, we'll give a few minutes just to let hopefully some parents and some new soon-to-be drivers, teen drivers, join us for today's Facebook Live event, which is as part of the 100 Deadliest Days, the most dangerous days for teen drivers. This is Dare to Prepare for teen drivers and their parents about the Connecticut graduated driving law process. My name is Adele Zosher. I am a public affairs specialist based out of Hamden, Connecticut. And so today I'm going to be talking to, hopefully we've got some, like I say, parents and potentially teen drivers to give you an idea about the graduated driving license process and how it is beneficial to the safety and development of teen drivers. All right, so what is the graduated driver's licensing process, or the GDL, the graduated driver law? So basically the GDL allows young drivers to safely gain driving experience before they have the full privileges as adult drivers. So it comes in 3 stages or 3 parts pretty much, which is your supervised practicing after getting the learner's permit, followed by your driver's test, and finally, once you have obtained your driver's license, you have your limited unsupervised driving for the set period of time of 1 year, broken up into 2 parts after that license is obtained. So first of all, coming from AAA, why is AAA interested in this? Why would the state be interested in this? Well, why do we have graduated driving laws at all? And the reason, specifically in Connecticut and in many other states, is they see too many teen injuries and deaths out there on the road, because we are looking at statistics, we're looking at what's happening, and we're saying, wow, when teens do not have to adhere to these graduated driving laws, we see a lot more injuries, a lot more deaths on the road. We look at data from other states. We look at data based off of brain science, social science, behavioral science as it pertains to teens, and this is how we come to these conclusions that teens, not that they aren't amazing, you guys are amazing, you teen drivers are amazing, it's a big responsibility to take on, we think you're awesome for that, but there's a couple of reasons why driving as a teen is especially dangerous, because it's dangerous for us adult drivers as well, right? Driving is a risky activity. We have to acknowledge that. Everyone knows about driving. Driving involves risk. It involves managing risk constantly. But as seasoned, more experienced drivers, as an adult driver with years of practice under your belt, you can handle certain situations and certain scenarios better than a teen driver who is just learning the ways of the road and also is still growing their brain. So teen drivers are at where we like to kind of call this intersection of immaturity and inexperience. And I don't say this like, you teens are so immature and you're so inexperienced. It's not an insult. Immature brain simply means your brain's not done growing. So for a teen, the prefrontal cortex region, the front of your brain, is going to be the last to fully form. That part of your brain is not going to fully develop into your 20s, potentially 21, 2, 3, 4 years old maybe. So you have a significant amount of time where your brain is still growing and developing to your benefit, really. So we've got our not fully formed brains, and we also have the reality that you cannot become an experienced driver until you get experience, right? That's kind of the rub. Unfortunately, you can't get good at driving unless you practice. It's one of those use it or lose it type of things. Not that there aren't some good drivers out there, like I say, you teen drivers, don't be insulted. I'm sure you're great drivers. But it is one of these things where the more you do it, the longer you do it, the more practice you get, the better you will be, the more savvy you will be at handling dangerous situations that come up on the road. So basically, in Connecticut, after in 2007, there were a lot of teen driving deaths. It was like a very devastating year for teen driver deaths in Connecticut. And the governor at the time and parents who had lost their children, other stakeholders, got together and said, we need to come up with some better graduated driving laws. Those laws were passed and brought into effect on August 1st of 2008. And so from then on, teen drivers have been adhering to this graduated process, again, a process that's in stages, which allows you to gain that experience without the full responsibility and full privilege of a adult driver. So I'm going to explain to you about how we, would go about that process. Just get my notes here. So basically we know, actually, excuse me, I'll put this one side. So for the learner's permit, parents, teens, anyone who's here with me who is in the process of, hoping to go get that learner's permit, you must be at least 16. This is where we have to start. You need to pass a 25-question test with no more than 4 answers incorrect. This test I'm going to show you, there's a wonderful handy-dandy app from the Connecticut DMV that you can download onto your Android or Apple phone, free and easy, and I'm going to show you that app as well where you can take the practice test. You may only drive when supervised once you get that learner's permit. Once you've obtained your learner's permit, you must be driving with either an instructor, a parent driver, or a driver who is at least 20 years old, has held a license for 4 years, and has not had that license suspended. So if you don't have a parent who's driving with you or a grandparent, it must be a trusted adult who has had that license for 4 years with no suspensions, no issues. So any of those people are an appropriate driver to be with you when you are in the learner's permit stage of your licensing process. Once you have taken your, you have let 120 days, pass after obtaining your learner's permit, you are able to go and get your license, take your license test. So it's 120 days for students who go to driving school. That's how long you need to have your learner's permit. And it is 180 days if you are home taught. So if you elect not to go to driving school, you need to hold your permit for longer. So keep that in mind. Not everyone does not have to go to driving school. We totally recommend it. It's a great way to get practice and get, obviously, the most professional instruction possible. But if you do choose to be home taught by a parent or another trusted adult, you must wait 180 days after obtaining your permit. You'll be completing 30 hours of classroom instruction and 40 hours of on-the-road training. Plus, parents or guardians need to take a 2-hour course on teen driving. So it's a lot of work, right? All you teens out there, you're like, whew, this seems like a lot of work. It is a lot of work because it's a lot of responsibility. And that's why, we expect a lot. It's a big responsibility being out there on the road. Basically, whether you go to a commercial or a secondary driving school, you will need to do 30 classroom hours. If you are being parent or other adult, home instructed, you need to have 22 hours in class, so 22 hours of instruction, plus an 8-hour safe driving course, which would be separate from driving school, not the same thing as driving school. You would have to take the 8-hour safe driving course, and again, your parent or guardian would have to take the 2-hour parent training. Across the board, whether you go to commercial, secondary, or are home taught, you need to have 40 hours signed off of driving practice. All right? So how are we doing so far? We've got permit requirements. We've got what we need before we can go get that license, right? Once we have passed our licensing test, right? So you've passed your permit test, we've done all of our required training, we go to the DMV and we take our DMV skills test. Hooray, we passed. What next, right? So if you are a 16 or 17-year-old driver, basically a minor driver, and you've done all of those requirements, right? Your parents took the 2-hour class, you got in your practice, you got in your classroom hours, hooray, we've got the license, freedom, right? I can do whatever I want. Not quite. We're almost there, right? So if you were 16 and 17 years old, you will not be driving between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. The only exemptions are for school-related activities, jobs, religious, or medical necessity. So those are exemptions if you need to be driving before or after those hours, the hours of 5 a.m., between 5 a.m. and 11 p.m., or 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. But there are those exceptions. You will not use a cell phone, whether it is hands-free or handheld. In Connecticut, of course, we have a hands-free law. So all of our drivers out there, we know we're not using our cell phones while we're driving. We're hands-free. But teen drivers, new drivers, or 16 and 17-year-old drivers cannot use even hands-free cell phone technology. You will have no passengers for the first 6 months, and the only exceptions are the same drivers that you can have the permit exceptions, which is an instructor, a parent or guardian, or a driver who is 20 years old and up, who has had a license for 4 years without the suspension, anything like that. So we understand it's basically a supervisor. For that first 6 months, you have to either drive by yourself or with the only other passenger you can have is adult, parent, and or the person who's 20 up. the license, right? All right, 6 months has passed. Woof, you guys are getting tired, right? You're like, okay, feels like interminable. Parents, you're probably saying, this is kind of a pain. I was hoping my teen driver would, be driving themselves a little bit more. Maybe they'd be driving their siblings. This is kind of inconvenient. And a lot of, people do kind of feel like, okay, the graduated driving laws make it, more work for the parents. It is. Parents, this is actually much more what we hope from this is that you will become much more involved. You will be more invested in your child's driver training. You will again be part of it. You will be right there with them because again, I have a few statistics I'm going to share with you about just how very much both having teen passengers affects us and how positively it affects teen driving statistics when we have an adult supervising that driving. After that first 6 months though, okay, so here we are, we got through. Now we're past the first 6 months. We're going to have no passengers except for immediate family. You do not, again, the only thing that's changed is now that you may have passengers, but they can only be immediate family and not limited to just those kind of instructors or parent instructors. All right. All passengers must wear seatbelts. We're always going to do that anyway, right? Everyone's like, yeah, we're totally all going to wear seatbelts, always and all the time, right? You are subject, teen drivers, so I'm speaking to my teen audience now, if I have any teen drivers and not just parents, but parents as well. Teens are subject to a 48-hour suspension if they are caught with passengers, breaking curfew, if they have any sort of a DUI, driving under the influence, speeding over 20 miles an hour, racing, reckless driving, all will result in an automatic 48-hour suspension, and then pending, depending what's been happening. So, we're definitely scrutinizing our teen drivers. We are, have our eyes on you, teen drivers. We know it's a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility, but it's only because, we know that by having a lot of adult involvement alongside this learning, process of driving, we know that that's going to help you be safer and more successful. So something we know, the reasons for this, maybe, why this is inconvenient, this means my teen has less freedom. Well, part of the reason we have created this law, again, not just in Connecticut, but in other states, is because we look at lots of data that supports why teen driving is such a dangerous activity. 6 out of 10 teen crashes is going to involve distraction, which is primarily passengers. About 15% will be because of passenger distraction, and another 12% from cell phones. So two very important things. We need to have teens eliminate from their driving, especially as they're getting started off, is passengers and using their cell phones. The risk of being killed in a crash for a teen driver quadruples when you have 3 or more passengers. It will increase or it'll double rather, when you have 2 or more passengers in the vehicle with you, and increases by 44%, so nearly 50%, with only 1 passenger. That's the likelihood of being killed in a crash for a teen driver when you have passengers. But as I mentioned before, the good news is that the risk of being killed in a crash for a teen driver decreases by about 62% when they're being supervised by an adult 35 and up. So parents, driving with your teen drivers, again, not only are you able to pass on experience, you're able to instruct them, you're slowly giving that independence as opposed to saying, here's a lot of freedom and responsibility, and run with it and we'll see how it goes. We know that doesn't work well. We know that this metered, stage-based graduated driving process is what's going to ensure that teen drivers are safe, comfortable, and best able to be out there on the road and be safe for themselves and others. So, my friends, I am not sure, I think I can see in the comments here if I have any questions from any parents who have joined us today. This information is all available on the Connecticut DMV website, which is www.ct.gov-dmv. I also wanted to mention that there is a wonderful little app here, which you're probably going to see backwards and maybe with a glare. Of course, we can't really see it very well. But anyhow, I have ct.gov has an app, basically. You can find it in the App Store if you search Connecticut DMV in your app store. And what this allows you to do is, there's online services, there's DMV locations and wait times, practice learner's permit tests, which is excellent for those, whether you are getting your learner's permit or you are about to Again, if you're just practicing. So, and then we can schedule the learner's permit and knowledge test. And I'm sorry that I'm not having great luck showing you. There we go. Do I have a glare? There we are. It's so easy. It's like we can just touch it. It's so nice. It's one of these wonderful things I didn't have when I was getting my permit. Myself, the graduated driving law didn't affect me, but it actually came into effect in the year after I graduated from high school, and thankfully hadn't lost any friends in crashes, because it was really a very devastating time for Connecticut residents, seeing a lot of teens driving and being killed on the roads. And so this is why we have the graduated driving laws. It's to keep teens safe. It's to keep parents feeling secure that when they let their teens out there, you know, again, they're getting the maximum amount of supervised driving, instruction, and also that responsibility is being gained slowly and steadily instead of all at once, where we know teens often struggle with being safe out there on the road. So my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, you can always check out AAA.com for more teen driving tips. We are here and available on our AAA Facebook page if you have any questions, comments, and would like more or are looking for more information on teen driving and licensing your teen. Take care, be well, and stay safe out there on the road. Thank you very much.